As far as I'm concerned, the immigration issue is over. I know that's controversial. I know you don't like to hear that. And I know what people are going to say. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a dead issue.
Shut up, bitch!
What's up, everybody? I'm Canadian ChiChi. If you're on this channel, you should know that I am a pretty right-wing person. You're likely on this channel because you've discovered my Twitter account, or you might be on this channel because my Amelia and Charlie edits. And obviously, we all know that Amelia is a nationalist icon. So I'm gonna post this video on YouTube and also on Rumble and BitChute. And also, because I don't care about any criticisms. It's just like, you can make fun of anything. I said this, the very first video I uploaded on BitChute and Rumble, I said this was like one of the first things I said, I believe. But basically, it's like, I don't care. You can make fun of my voice, because I do have a funny voice, I believe, right? It's like, you can make fun of anything. And I don't care, because I think, well, unless you're like a libtard, unless you're a leftard, unless your philosophy is fundamentally one that I do not align with. If you're somebody on the right, or if you're just like a centrist, you're just some normie, and you're like, oh, I hate your voice, oh, I hate your accent, if I have one. It's like, I hate whatever. It's like, you can say whatever you want. I actually don't care. Anyways, it is pretty clear what this episode is going to be about. This episode is going to be about the war on Iran, or the battle on Iran, because like a lot of people get triggered when they hear the word war. And by the way, if you saw my video yesterday, so the word raging is supposed to be a different word. It's supposed to be like another 6-letter R word. But the thing is that I'm pretty sure YouTube is going to censor that. So that's the reason why I'm going to call them the raging right and not the slow in the head right. So it's just like, it's going to be about the battle on Iran. So for those who don't know, I full-heartedly support the battle. I full-heartedly support Operation Epic Fury. And Trump is actually like a legend. Like, he's a legend in my heart, right? It's just like, the thing is that what I don't understand is that whether you like Trump or hate Trump, whether you think that Trump is pro-America or Trump is quote-unquote enslaved by a certain Middle Eastern country, you have to admit that Trump is a legend, right? He captured Maduro in what, like 2 hours. He killed the old leader of Iran within a day. That guy has been talking trash about America. He said death to America over and over again the last 40 or so years. And he died the first day of the war between America and Iran, right? It's just embarrassing for him. And it only goes to show that we're so back. Right, it's like America can actually be a strong empire. America doesn't have to listen to, to other countries. America doesn't have to, give millions of dollars to these like foreign programs. We can just destroy these terrorists. We can destroy the enemies of America, and we can do that within days. Right? I feel like one of the reasons why everybody doesn't like war is because some people are, pretty soft. They're pretty feminine. But I also think that another reason is because of all those Bush years. During those Bush years, like so many people died, right? So I think that's the reason why people don't really like wars. But the thing is that Trump literally proved the neocons wrong. He proved the Bush era neocons wrong, in the sense that like he's actually doing wars properly. So I'm going to talk about the Iran war and also the divide on the right, because the thing is that I think so both the Venezuela attack and also the Iran war, it basically showed most people, I would argue most people are kind of aware of this, that there is this growing segment on the right that is like, this segment LARPs so much. They LARP as like racially aware, they LARP as like nationalist, or they LARP as paleoconservative. But then it doesn't matter what they LARP. They can LARP as nationalists, they can LARP as people who are racially aware, they can LARP as like being like religious, like Christian rights, they can LARP as paleocon. But then ultimately, there's only one thing they actually care about, and it is to destroy a certain country in the Middle East. They will say that, oh my gosh, you shouldn't care about foreign wars. You should care about what goes on in America. You shouldn't care about any foreign country. But they are the ones that actually care about that country. They don't care about anything. They only want Israel to fall, basically. I said it, right? That's the country I've been talking about. They only want Israel to fall. There are also people who are kind of like on the more like weakness side. So like they larp as white nationalists, but the thing is that they're going to defend somebody who race mixes as long as that person is a communist and as long as he is anti-Israel. So there are a lot of larpers. So why am I making this video? I'm making this video for one purpose, and the purpose is to debunk most of the things they say and also to expose them as the larpers they are. So yeah, without any further ado, let's start. So the first thing most of these Israel derangement syndrome people will say, like the raging right will say, is that Trump's being bought by Bibi, or like they will say something along the lines of Trump is a traitor. Like, oh, we should. Some of these people are literally saying that we should vote the Democrats because the Republicans betrayed their base. But the thing is that, like, how can you say Trump is a traitor if Iran not getting nuclear weapon is something that Trump has always campaigned on? Right? It's just like, it's weird how they will be like, oh, the Iran war is a distraction on the Epstein file. But the thing is just that it doesn't make sense considering that Trump never campaigns on releasing the Epstein file. I believe he did say that he will release the Epstein file in certain interviews. But the thing is that that was never like on his official platform. However, he has said repeatedly in rallies that Iran cannot get nuclear weapon, and also we have to weaken Iran. Iran is a threat. Iran is one of the enemies of America.
But if I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that. And there would be no more threats. There would be no more threats.
He's still president of this country, and we're talking about nuclear war, and he's not capable. He doesn't even know what it is. He said yesterday, when they talked about should they hit Iran's nuclear, no, you shouldn't do that. I said, no, it's sort of just the opposite, because the nuclear is the biggest threat we have in the world today. It's not global warming where the oceans are rising 1/8 of an inch in the next 500 years. The threat that we have, the biggest threat, is nuclear war.
You seem concerned about that.
I am, because it only takes one. I am.
Very true.
There are 5 countries now that have capability, and soon they'll have more, and we shouldn't let there be more.
What do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that the one you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military, jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And that's what they should. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it, but we'll find out whatever their plans are.
Is it really that Trump betrayed the Republicans, or is it that these people were never on Trump's side? Right? And the thing is that it's weird that they act like as if they've been betrayed when most of these people didn't even vote for Trump in 2024 because they were already talking about how Trump's gonna start the war on Iran. According to Grok, as you can see in this picture, during Trump's 2024 campaign, he repeatedly stated that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. He said it at least 40 times on the trail. If America's really thought, like everything America does about foreign politics, like foreign policies, is based on the interests of Israel, then what about attacking Venezuela? How does attacking Venezuela affect Israel? It's very clear that the Venezuela attack is for America's safety, right? Because Venezuela is another country that has always been hostile towards America. It sells its oil to China. But then not only that, Venezuela as a country itself, it poses a threat to America. And if you apply the Monroe Doctrine, right, it's like the entire Western Hemisphere belongs to America, in the sense that America should make sure that no country in the Western Hemisphere threatens the West, and America is part of the West. Right, America doesn't have to annex every single country, although sometimes I do wish that, because, this country sucks. But it's just like, America doesn't have to annex other countries, but America needs to make sure, for the safety of America, for the safety of other Western countries, that every country in the Western Hemisphere does not pose a threat to America. Trump is actually consistent with his beliefs, right? He is not doing this for Israel. He's doing this for the benefit of America because he is an American nationalist, right? He is establishing peace through strength, which is literally what he campaigned on. So this is something, again, a lot of these people they can't understand it because they've been so brainwashed by the whole it's the world versus Israel. They're so brainwashed by this narrative. They fail to understand that just because something benefits Israel, it doesn't mean that we're doing it for Israel. I think another thing that these people misunderstand is that being a paleocon doesn't mean you have to be 100% isolationist. It doesn't mean that you can't have any wars at all. It just means that the country should focus more on the priority of the country, right? It's like the president should focus more on the country itself and the interest of the country instead of the interest of other countries. Or we're going to start these wars for the sake of expanding human rights, expanding democracy. But then it just turns out the only thing they do is just to expand feminism, expand homosexuality, and all this other stuff. I'm not really a paleocon, so I can't say this for sure, but in my opinion, that's what paleocon is. It is not necessarily isolationist. It is not necessarily you can't start any wars, you gotta be pacifist. It just means that the country has to prioritize itself first before it prioritizes the interests of other countries. So many wars happen throughout the entire world. You have for example, I believe, this is kind of a long time ago, I believe half a year ago, but for example, India and Pakistan, I believe it was India. It could be Bangladesh, but I'm pretty sure it was India, Pakistan. So they fought against each other. And obviously, that has nothing to do with America. If Trump all of a sudden stood by India's side or stood by Pakistan's side, then that would be a bit weird because that war has nothing to do with American interests, right? Same thing with, I believe there's another war in Southeast Asia. I'm not really good at memorizing things, so I don't remember which two countries. I believe Thailand is one of them. I'm not really sure, or it could be Cambodia. But the thing is just that, there was another war around that region. So this just the Southeast Asia region. If Trump all of a sudden sent $1 trillion to fight against one of those countries, and he was we gotta fight against this country because this country is authoritarian. Thousands of Americans die. After that, we're gonna establish quote unquote democracy. We're gonna establish feminism. We're gonna establish homosexual rights, then that's being a neocon. That's being the opposite of paleocon because he's not starting these wars for the interests of America. He's starting these wars for the interests of, so-called worldwide democracy or the interests of other countries, right? But the thing is that, again, what makes the attack on Venezuela and the attack on Iran different is that those countries are hostile to America since forever. Venezuela is literally a socialist nation. It is a socialist nation that hates America, right? Cuba is another socialist nation that hates America. And back in the 60s, when there were all those left-heart terrorists back in the days, whenever something goes wrong in America for them, they will leave and flee to Cuba. I believe there was somebody part of the Black Panther, a black nationalist, and I believe it was a woman, and she fled to Cuba, and there are many cases like this. So they take in all these socialists, they take in all these leftards, right? It is a terrorist country. It is a country, it's literally socialist. And again, if you apply the Monroe Doctrine, which is literally part of American tradition, right, and cry about it, America is an imperialist nation, and there's literally nothing wrong with imperialism. Imagine using the word imperialist as like a bad thing. And the thing is that I see this all the time on the so-called right. I see this from like conservative libertarians like Maxime Bernier. I see this from like a lot of these great pro-adjacent people, or the people who LARP as weaknuts. Basically it's like, well, imperialism, American imperialism, as if that's a bad thing. Like, it's not a bad thing, because America is one of the best countries on this earth. And the thing is that America's not even attacking these countries only for the sake of itself. The people in these countries are literally on America's side. The leftards view on the word imperialism is this like evil, like they picture this evil maniac kind of like pillaging all the towns and villages across the world, when in reality that's never been the case. That has literally never been the case. And if you believe that, you're actually buying into basically socialist ideology, right? That's never been the case. That's never been the case for colonialism. That's never been the case for imperialism. Everybody in those countries support America, at least most people anyways, people who are not affiliated with those evil governments, right? All the normal citizens, like all these ordinary citizens in Venezuela, they were literally celebrating when they captured Maduro. And then these Iran people, they're also, they're even celebrating right now. So there's nothing wrong with what America does. There's also something that I see that's pretty interesting, is that a lot of these people, they're so disingenuous. They will LARP as paleocons. They will be like, the only reason why I don't support Operation Epic Fury is because America will spend millions of dollars on it. The only reason why I don't support the battle, like the attack on Venezuela and the capture of Maduro, is because we spend so much money on that, and because, we shouldn't care. Like, we shouldn't care about any other country. But the thing is just that that's actually not true. This is the same thing with Israel, in the sense that when October the 7th just happened, Israel was kind of begging America to send money so that they can fight against Palestine. And I was on the side of we shouldn't send that much money, right? It's like, I don't care. It's just like, why should we send millions of dollars for the interest of a foreign country? And then when these raging right people, like these slow in the head right people, when they say the same thing, I felt like I was on their side. But the thing is that now I realize, no, they are not, they don't, the reason why they don't support Israel is not because they believe we shouldn't, it's not only because they believe we shouldn't send millions of taxpayers' dollars to Israel. They genuinely think that Israel's committing genocide. They genuinely think that Israel's committing some kind of atrocity.
You depraved war criminal, where is our money?
And that's when I realized it's all a sham. That's when I realized that they're basically a bunch of LARPers. I think we all know the famous paleocon Pat Buchanan. And the thing is that most of these paleocon LARPers, they will invoke the name of Pat Buchanan, when in reality, Pat Buchanan, he also, I'm not sure if he will actually be part of Operation Epic Fury, but what I do know is that he still thinks that Iran is a threat. Listen to this video.
You really want that? You don't see that as a danger?
The United States could finish off Iran in an afternoon. What are you frightened of, Sean?
Okay, well, I think it's a bad idea. Just like we finished off North Korea in an afternoon,
for them to get a bomb, and I think we can stop it.
I think you're dreaming. All right, thank you, sir.
I think you're hysterical, Sean.
I'm hysterical. I don't want the mullahs of Iran. I take their words seriously.
I think we can stop them.
So Pat Buchanan also doesn't want Iran to get any nuclear weapons. And he literally said in this video that America has the power to finish Iran off in an afternoon. We definitely finished their old leader off in an afternoon, thanks to the leadership of Donald Trump. Another thing people forget is that attacking Iran also hurts its allies, including powerful allies like China and Russia. especially China. China loves to be like the paper tiger, right? It loves to, we're gonna attack. If Japan sees Taiwan as a country, we're gonna attack Japan, right? It's like, wow, Americans are evil, man. Americans are racist. They're evil. Wow, these white people colonized us. They were so evil. Wow, like the British, the British Museum has to return all of the Chinese artifacts, right? They're a bunch of losers. They talk just like third world people. Most Chinese people act like third world people. Take a look at this post. This is China. China is our enemy. China wants to defeat us and be the world's dominant power. That would be bad. China imports upwards of 14% of their oil from Iran. If Iran is no longer an ally of China and does not sell them oil, this hurts our enemy. That is good. A lot of times, reality is very simple. Like all these leftards, all these libtards. Wow, like the world is more than black and white, man. Wow, the world is so complex. It's really simple, right? We have America. We have all the other countries that are part of Western civilization on one side. And then we have these seething communists, seething third worldists on the other side, right? This has been going on ever since the start of last century. This is the reason why Rhodesia fell. Rhodesia didn't fall because, it just so happened that those people rebelled, right? Because that was a proxy war. The communists actually funded all these rebellions across Rhodesia, turned it into Zimbabwe. Same thing with South Africa. So reality is pretty simple. It is us versus them, right? It is our friends versus our enemies. By hurting Iran, we are hurting China. By hurting Venezuela, we are also hurting China. We're also hurting Russia. And the thing is that I do make an exception for Russia. I do think that Russia has the potential to be on our side. It's going to hurt the Third World Alliance, and it might actually pull Russia on our side, because now Russia knows it cannot rely too much on China and on all these other countries, because these countries are weak. Trump has proven that these countries are weak. Trump has proven that these terrorist countries, these communist countries, these anti-Western countries are weak. So Russia, because Russia is still a Christian nation, right? Russia is still a Christian nation. Most people there are white. If anything, I would argue, like, this is something I don't really hear people say, but I would argue Russia is actually so similar to Canada, right? Russia is also a country that's been colonized by Europeans. And Russia also, it's like the landscape, right? The terrains, very similar to Canada. The history is also pretty close, right? The history is pretty close. And Russia has a lot of falchion spirits. Russia has this like toughness that a lot of Canadians have. But I feel like the reason why people think Canadians are gay is because they're only seeing the Canadians in the cities. They're only seeing the Canadians like in the media. But most Canadians aren't. Most Canadians are actually pretty tough. So this is something I actually don't see that many people say, that Canada and Russia are actually extremely similar. I would argue America and Russia are also pretty similar. And just like how Nixon pulled China away from USSR by dealing with China, I feel like now we can also pull Russia away from the seething Third World Alliance by, becoming more friendly towards Russia. I thank God every single day that the Chinese firewall exists so that we don't have to be subjected to their insane seething and their insane crash outs. Because Chinese people act worse than Indians in terms of this. And the only reason why most people don't know this is because the firewall exists. Take a look at this post, right? It's like this random Chinese guy, the fascist evil triad of the 21st century, excuse me, what's actually wrong with that? the fascist evil triad of the 21st century is the source of world turmoil. So we literally have this random Qing. I prefer using the K at the end, but the thing is that I don't want to get censored. I'm going to say Qing. It is a word in China, actually. And the thing is just that I can say this because I'm ethnically Chinese. You literally have this person showing a picture of Trump doing a World War II Germany salute. You have Bibi, right, looking like, he's so badass. And you also have Takaichi, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, or Takaichi, I don't really know. She literally looks like a boss babe, which is what liberals are supposed to like. But I guess they don't like a boss babe when the girl is conservative, when the girl is actually promoting family values. It's so interesting how the people who say they like the Austrian painter, like they will like somehow be on the same side as this random chain. Not only does attacking Iran hurt China, but it literally shows that China is actually not as strong as what it appears to be. You know, the Iran war, because they literally had Chinese technology, right, to see American missiles, and they didn't work, right? Venezuela had the same technology from China. And then when both Venezuela and Iran got attacked by America, China didn't do anything. Like all these panicants were saying that, wow, like, but if we attack Iran, then China is going to start World War III, right? China is going to attack us. Well, it's been like weeks after we started Operation Epic Fury, and what has China done? China didn't do anything. This is an embarrassment for China. This is so demoralizing for our number one enemy, which is China. And yet, the raging right would rather want us to believe that the world is about to end and America is somehow this evil empire, right? Instead of saying we're so bad, they just cry and they just blackpill. And now they're voting the Democrats to own Trump, to own the evil American empire. It took Bush 9 months just to capture Saddam Hussein. It took them 9 years just to kill bin Laden. And yet it took Trump 3 hours to capture Maduro and only 2 hours to kill the old leader of Iran. It doesn't matter what metrics you use. You can't compare Bush to Trump unless you're some kind of feminine pacifist who thinks that, Trump, like America should just lay down and die, and America shouldn't assert itself as the most powerful empire in the world, and we should just let these terrorists laugh at us, let these communists laugh at us, and let them say death to America another time. It literally shows that, again, these people aren't just paleocons, they're literally pacifists. And it's weird how these people, they will make fun of boomers. They will say that, the boomers are too liberal. The boomers were a bunch of hippies. They will say this, and at the same time, it's like they literally have the same beliefs as the boomers. They believe, the evil American empire, the government is evil, whatever, right? They believe the same things, right? Just, I guess the only difference is that the boomer hippies were big fans of diversity. They were big fans of all these colored people. And I guess they're not big fans. So I guess that's the only difference. They're basically just race realist boomers. So the final thing I would say to debunk this paleocon LARP, it's just that by logic, they cannot be paleocons. And here is how I'm going to prove it. You can separate politics into 2 different spheres. The first sphere, like the first area, it is basically domestic politics, domestic policies. The second one is geopolitics, right? So basically politics with other nations. Like, if these people don't care about foreign governments, they don't care about foreign countries, they don't care about anything that's foreign, and they're right-wing as they claim to be right-wing, logically, they will look at domestic policies and determine which of those policies align with their beliefs, their right-wing beliefs. And yet, that's not what they're doing. They're literally saying they're voting the Democrats, despite the fact that the Democrats are, they still support Israel. Most of the mainstream Democrats still support Israel. They sim for Gavin Newsom when Gavin Newsom supports Israel too. And it's also weird how, again, it's like they will say J.D. Vance is like he shouldn't be president because he marries an Indian, right? He race mixes. And yet, recently we had this Green Party communist, storming into a meeting, right, disrupting the meeting. And yet he's married to a literal Hamas girl. He's married to like a random Muslim. And somehow that's not a problem. At least he doesn't like Israel. So they care about anti-Israel more than they care about anything else. And this literally, it only shows that they're actually just LARPing, right? They're not even what they say they are. They're not just, people who are on the right who happens to be anti-Israel. They're literally just anti-Israel first. If you separate politics into these 2 spheres, so domestic and foreign, and if they claim that they only care about domestic, they don't care about foreign, then they will simply just shut off the foreign sphere and only focus on domestic, and they will vote. And since they claim to be right-wing, they will vote based on which domestic policies are more right-wing. And yet that's not true because, again, they're aligned with Democrats. When's the last time Democrats are even remotely conservative, right? Maybe the 1950s? But after the 1950s, they became progressive. There are so many things they say that are just completely wild. For example, Christian Hyens, who is an adamant defender of anime, he said in this post, "This is the guy Nick Fuentes is telling you to vote for this November. I don't know about you, but white skin is a virus doesn't seem very America first to me." And look at the response. Look at, for example, this scraper. "Seeing you lose is all I care about. I'd rather be thrown in prison under a Democrat than let you win another election." How can they say that they focus more on domestic policies when they're literally giving up domestic policies for the sake of being anti-Israel? So anyways, it is pretty clear that these people are LARPing and that what they say don't make any sense. They say that Trump betrayed his base, but Trump didn't betray anybody. And it's weird coming from them when, again, they literally didn't even vote for Trump. So what do you mean Trump betrayed you when you didn't even vote for Trump? They say that Trump is a neocon, but they have no idea what a neocon actually is. They think being paleocon means you have to be a pacifist, or that you have to be some kind of like a isolationist radical. They say that Trump is controlled by the Jews, Trump is controlled by Israel, and yet if you look at Trump's actions, how is he controlled by Israel? He also attacked Venezuela. And again, even paleocons like Pat Buchanan, in that video, he clearly agreed with this notion that Iran poses a threat to America if Iran has nuclear weapons. They also say that they only care about domestic policies. We should focus more on the American people than on Israel. And yet, with the logic I just shared, right, it doesn't make any sense. It is very clear they care more about being anti-Israel than just caring about domestic policies, like what they claim. So what is the future going to be like? Because, the 2026 midterm is about to come up. And you also have the election, right? The future election coming up 2028. I think on the Republican side, there is going to be a massive divide. And from this divide, two parties will emerge. One party is what this post calls Judeo-fascist. And the thing is that for all the normies who, they don't understand, it's just like, when I use the word fascist, I'm not saying I am a fascist, because I am not. I'm a conservative. I'm an ultra-con. I'm not a fascist. I don't agree with everything Mussolini says. People use the word for fun because, leftards use it all the time. And also, the word sounds cool, right? So this post refers to the party that I am in as Judeo-fascist. And then the group that the raging right belongs to as anti-Zionist third world. And what this post says that Judeo-fascist is J.D. Vance and anti-Zionist third world is Newsom. But the thing is that I don't think that's going to be the divide in the main election. That is going to be the divide in the primary, right? In the Republican primary. I think that the Judeo-fascist is more like Randy Fine, and anti-Zionist third world is more like, Thomas Massie. So that's going to be the divide. I think that a lot of people are on the side of the anti-Zionist third world. But the thing is that a lot of people are starting to wake up about this whole this Israel derangement syndrome. Even Asmon Golds, right? He's also waking up.
I think that the amount of the Israel hostility is approaching a fever pitch where people will stop taking it seriously. I think that we're approaching that period of time where there is so much fixation around Israel and Israel's proximity to every single event that I think people are just going to get fatigued from hearing that everything is because of Israel.
Trust me, I think the Judeo-fascist is actually going to win in the end. Because it is actually a lot more closer to Western values. And if the Republican Party is really defending Western values, if it is defending America, it's defending Western nations, then it should be Judeo-fascist. It should never be anti-Zionist third world. I think one thing a lot of these people like Nick Fuentes, and people who are just similar, a lot of these Wignut streamers as well, these Wignut influencers as well, they will pretend as if they're the only solution to the problems that we have with modernity. They will pretend as if they're the only ones to promote social conservatism. They're the only ones to promote a pro-Western, pro-white attitude, When in reality, so many people existed before them, right, that have also pushed for similar things. And you can push for these things without agreeing with them completely. You don't have to agree with this Israel derangement syndrome. You don't have to agree 100% with a certain figure in the last century for you to, again, agree with pro-Western attitudes, pro-white attitudes, and agree with social conservatism, right? This is a trap that they set to attract all these young men to follow them. But the thing is that you have to actually have an independent mind, right? You don't have to actually follow these people. They like to blackpill. They will say that, oh, the Republican Party is not doing anything. The Republican Party is not doing enough deportations, despite the fact that Trump has done more deportations, like in terms of ratio. So people being forcefully deported. And by the way, this is not even counting the people who self-deport. People who are forcefully deported from America, that number exceeds the illegals coming in. They will say that Obama and Clinton also did deportations, but then they counted the people they turn away at the border as like their deportation number. But the thing is that Trump is the only person to actually, deport people, like do these massive projects where people get deported from America, from within the borders. There are a lot of Republicans, even the ones sitting in Congress, who are extremely pro-white, who are extremely socially conservative, and a lot of these people, like the Grapers, some of the Wignuts, the reason why they will not mention them is because it defeats their narrative. Oh, you have to be against Israel for you to be a social conservative who's also pro-white. You gotta follow X, Y, Z in order to follow W, but then you don't have to. You literally have people in the Republican Party talking about, mentioning a Muslim ban, talking about like the Hart-and-Seller Act and how it is actually bad. There are people in the Republican Party literally saying that even legal immigration, there can be problems with even legal immigration. And yet these people will still blackpill. They will still blackpill just because these people happen to support Israel, happen to be on the side of Israel. Again, they don't actually care about America more. They will say that, oh, we just care about America more than Israel. But no, they actually care about Israel more. They are just anti-Israel. The right is actually winning for the first time since a very, very long time. We don't actually need this civil war. We don't actually, this is the problem with the right. I said this in a video yesterday. The left is actually a lot more unified against us than we are against them. I would argue that this whole the left infights more, that's actually a myth. They have a lot more in-group preference than the right, on average, right? They will all be unified against the right, against the evil fascist, the evil conservative, the evil religious people or something, right? It's just like the right, for some reason, we always infight even before we win, and that's just problematic, right? Because again, the elections are coming pretty soon, right? You have the midterm this year, and you also have the election 2 years later, which isn't a long time. We've won, we won, and yet, we can lose very easily. And we shouldn't let that happen. It's just don't listen to all the black pillars, right? It's just oh my gosh, the world is terrible. Oh my gosh, nothing is being done, right? So much is being done comparing to the last 4 years, even the last 8 years, right? I would argue before Trump got elected the second time, I actually didn't even have very favorable views, for Trump, because Trump didn't do anything his first term. And yet his second term, he's done so much, right? My boomer parents loved Trump during his first term. Now they're calling him fascist. So it's just it shows that Trump is actually doing things. Trump is actually doing things to piss the left off. That's the reason why the left, they're willing to die for their little illegal immigrants, right? It's and you have already 2 leftists dying because they want to protect illegal immigrants who are probably gonna assault them anyways, right? Don't listen to the black pillars, right? It's they do nothing but demoralize. Even with the midterm results, right? Some of the midterm primary results, so many candidates supported by Trump, right, won their Republican primary. It's just instead of saying it's over, we have to say it's so bad, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying it's so bad because it is so bad. And to think that all of this could be different if Trump didn't turn his head at that exact moment.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness.
God saved Trump. God saved Trump multiple times, but then that time it was so special because it was right in front of the camera. He could have died there, and America could have been a lot more different. Maduro would still be there. Iran would still talk about death to America with no pushback. China would still feel like it's the top of the world, right? Staring down at a dying nation. God saved Trump that day, and God bless Trump. Anyways, that's it for this episode. If you like my content, please subscribe. And like the video first and then subscribe. Leave any comments you want. It's like, again, I don't care about criticisms. You can criticize my voice. You can criticize anything. Stay safe, everybody, and God bless.